Intro.
Are we live? I guess we're live. Welcome to Before Floor, the Five Reasons Sports Network, an extension of Five on the Floor. Right before the Heat play the hottest team in the NBA, the Utah Jazz. The Jazz have won something like 37 out of 38 games. The Heat come off a win against the Rockets. Who do I have tonight? Let's see, Alejandro. Got Alejandro Villegas, the producer. Got Jonathan Ramlakan. You can follow a three-piece candy. Three-piece combo. You can also catch his new videos on our YouTube channel. And Brady Hawk, who is our lead writer over at FiveReasonsSports.com. You can follow him at Brady Hawk 305. And before we get to the Jazz today, I want to sort of recap the Rockets game a little bit. Slow start in that one, and then just a lot of Jimmy late. You wrote a piece kind of today about sort of the confidence that Jimmy instills in the rest of the team. He just sort of settles everybody down. I mean, as much as the basketball ability, Brady, that has really been the biggest thing he's brought.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's sometimes looked at as like a cliche statement to talk about somebody that just, calms everybody down. But it's been necessary without Goran because that's kind of been the thing lately. We've been discussing, like, you got to survive these non-Butler minutes. And they've, it's been a little iffy at times, but they got through it. Butler, with him on the court, they have 115 offensive rating. With him off it, it's a 94 offensive rating since his return. So I think that shows it pretty much. And, the impact I was mentioning defensively, this team is not very good on the defensive side of the ball, and he's elevated them to second in defensive rating since his return. So just these numbers that you're seeing are just they're really point towards Jimmy Butler as a player. But as you mentioned, the stuff he brings as a leader, we're seeing. I mentioned you see certain possessions where a guy makes a mistake and he lets them know, and that's what's necessary. They don't take anything too seriously when somebody does that, and they need that right now.
First thing, Royal Shepherd should not be posting any comments on the stream here, so get those off. I am older than I was yesterday, which is why I'm wearing a shirt from the first Heat team that I covered, which is the Timmy, Zoe, Dan, Jamal, PJ team. I don't know why this didn't say Nash and Thunder on it instead. I'll have to talk to Smoot about that, but you can get that on our website. Jonathan, I mean, to that point, we were kind of talking. Oh my God, we were kind of talking, Jonathan, sort of about. Bam, and whether or not he would continue to be aggressive and sort of be a co-lead guy. Since Jimmy came back, though, that just hasn't been the case. I mean, there's been stretches, but a lot of times Bam has not been particularly aggressive. He refused to go at PJ Tucker the other night. Do we need to see a more aggressive Bam, and in what way?
Yeah, we definitely need to see a more aggressive Bam, a Bam that's looking for a shot, right? Because a Bam that's looking for a shot is going to be a Bam that actually creates more efficiently for other players. And like last game, he had 8 turnovers. And if he's only looking to make the pass, opposing teams are going to play him like he's trying to make the pass. So he needs to look to score first. And then from trying to score, then he's going to open up some shots. And I feel like that's what we need to see from Bam is that aggressiveness to score. And once he does that, and once he understands the advantage that he has on most big men, whether that's size or speed, he can start taking advantage and start picking his matchups. And once he understands how to isolate his matchups and select what he wants to, when he wants to take it and when he wants to pass it, that's when he'll take that next step in the NBA. But for right now, we really just want to look at him to try to focus on scoring a little bit more and then create opportunities for other players that way.
Tyler Herro back. Obviously that was not expected the other night. We saw a lot of Strus, and obviously everybody's on the Strus hype train now. This is kind of what happened. We had an Akpala hype train for about 2 days. That went away. Now we've got a Strus hype train. How much does Herro's return, Brady, kind of change the dynamic with Strus? Because, without Dragic and without Herro, they really didn't have anywhere to go off the bench. Now they do.
Yeah, I think he will still be utilized, at least right now, as a guy that can come in for Duncan. I think what he did the other night is something you just don't play him. I don't think they're going to go that route. I think, they trust him. I think that was kind of the most surprising thing, just hearing the players talk about him, that he just, works, how hard he works, thinks he's, the first one in the gym, and things like that. But I do think, people are getting a little crazy with, the replacement for Duncan Robinson. I still think, it shouldn't be looked at, as two shooters, like just because he hit some threes, he can do what Duncan's doing. There's still a lot more there. And that's what I was kind of discussing, the things that Duncan does off the ball, the gravity he still brings. That's why those lineups with Duncan and Strus seem to be working so well, because they're still doubling Duncan in those lineups, and it's getting Strus some open looks. And when they start, focusing and noticing they have another shooter on the floor like Strus, it'll open some things up for Duncan. So I don't think the comparisons that we're constantly seeing between these two about a replacement and things like that are really viable at this stage.
But here's the other thing about Strus, though. It does seem like he's a more physical presence defensively. That comes across. I saw that live when I covered a couple games in the arena that he was in. Like, at first you're like, oh my God, how's he going to guard this guy? But we saw at the very beginning, like, Spo was giving him difficult matchups, like in his first couple of appearances, and that really hasn't changed. So, I mean, if one of the questions with Duncan is, can he guard in some of those situations? We always talk about tilting the floor, not having three bad defenders on the floor at the same time. Well, if Strus can be at least an average defender, they don't have that problem that they have with Duncan. It might make him more playable with Dragic, ultimately. It might make him even playable with Herro when they go to three guards, whereas at times it has not looked like Duncan and Herro are playable together. John, I mean, is that something to look at there?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a guy that's basically almost a halfway 3-and-D guy where he's good at the three and halfway good at defense, then you have to take a look at him as being a rotation player. He has kind of a little bit more explosiveness to his game. We saw with the dunk, stuff like that. So he has that explosiveness to be able to cover ground a little bit quicker than Duncan and Tyler and move his feet a little bit faster. So I think if he's able to continue doing, or even obviously stay something where average of a shooter and be more of a presence defensively than Duncan, Herro, Nunn, some of these guys, then he can make this offense move better. And Jimmy already likes to work with him. And Bam already has made a couple of good assists to him. So he's somebody starting to fit in with our star players. And if he continues to defend, then he can only just get better from here.
Alejandro, I'm going to move you off the screen if you put Royal on there one more time with a comment. Royal, I think Royal on the post game tonight. I think he is. I think he's doing all the West Coast games. So Royal, I don't know how I feel about that. Great value, Joe Harris is a good way to look at it. Actually, that is something that they would be okay with that if that was the case. Harkless is available again. I really don't know that he gets many minutes. It looks like sort of their 9 to 10. It's kind of set with Herro coming back. The one guy who does look set as a starter for a little while at least is Kendrick Nunn. I know he wasn't especially efficient the other night, but that is 11 straight appearances that he's gone at least 11 points. Okay, so he's been productive in his minutes, and I got to tell you, Brady, I mean, defensively, to me, he looks better. I mean, there are some matchups that are challenging for him still, but he's not getting shoved aside on the screens quite the way he was before. Like, it looks like he's understood at this point, at least. If I'm going to stay on the floor, I have to defend. I know Heat fans, they throw him into every trade every time he plays well. But, I mean, if you have a guy who can get you 17 on a consistent basis, like, I don't know why we just throw him to the side.
Yeah, and I think last game, he struggled at some times, but I think that could have been his real, breakthrough. He's been, not missing very much lately. He's been consistent with his play. But seeing him, not make shots early and then come out a little bit later and still look to do other things, cut back door. He had some open layups, attacking the basket off the dribble. Those are the things that are going to keep him on the court. So when he's not playing particularly good on the catch and shoot type of side of things, I think that's where he can earn it. And I do see some, improvements defensively. I think the way he, hits passing lanes is a lot better. Just getting deflections and steals is something that could just, improve, playing time in general. And yeah, I do think that the screen thing is still an issue. I think he still gets caught behind quite a few screens, and that's kind of where the defensive issues lie. But I do think the other parts are getting polished up slightly.
Interesting comment that came in from Heat Nation. I think it was 123. Is Bam switching too much on defense? I mean, that is the nature of kind of the way they play, but we see that, sort of those offensive rebounds that are given up when you got a small guy under the basket. I know that, sort of the Bam lesson, I remember talking to him about this a year ago, is kind of that he can get out on any perimeter, and they learn the lesson that you can't go against him. But the other lesson is when he does that, you've got a big who's unguarded in the paint. Is that a concern?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're not fighting over screens at all. They're just saying, hey, Bam, take the lead defender. And then there's always a hole in the middle, because if Bam's not in the middle, who's our second best big player? It's going to be Jimmy Butler trying to guard up. Even DeMarcus Cousins was cooking Jimmy Butler, and he's not big enough to be playing against opposing centers. And even if he does force a miss, half the time it ends up being an offensive rebound because they have their bigger players in the middle anyways. And especially with tonight, when we're playing a guy against Rudy Gobert that can tip the ball to himself a couple hundred times, that's going to be a big problem. So Bam needs to make sure that he doesn't switch out too often, because if he does, it just leaves a big gaping hole right in the middle.
Comment that just came in. I've seen this come out, Jimmy for MVP. I mean, the reality is, I think what Jimmy's proven is he's the MVP of the Heat. I just don't. I mean, they're not going to give it to a guy. I mean, you're not going to get a guy in the top 5 of the race who misses that kind of time. That's the first part. But also, I mean, you've got LeBron having a pretty damn good season. You've got Embiid. You've had Jokic. I mean, there's a lot of guys. I think Jimmy has established his value here clearly. He should be an all-star in my view if he doesn't miss significant time here over the next month. But saying that he's going to be an MVP candidate, I think, is a bit of a stretch. Let's get into tonight's game a little bit. I know Mike Conley. That's a big deal. Utah really has benefited from his resurgence this year. He's looked much more like the player he did in Memphis after they were trying to give him away this offseason. They still have some ball handlers, but they don't have a ton of true ball handlers. It puts the ball more in Clarkson's hands a little bit more when I think they're more effective when he and Inglis are playing off the ball. So how does that look to you tonight, Brady, with no Conley?
Yeah, I still think they're going to have a ton of shooting on the floor. That's what Spoelstra was discussing before the game, that you have probably 4 shooters on the floor. So that creates some adjustments defensively. But that's what he was asked about, but he brings up the point that you still have Mitchell running most of their sets, and he's going to attack you and attack those pick and rolls with Gobert. So there's so much stuff that's not like you're going into a game where you're game planning around one guy. They have a ton of guys that can do different things, and that's why they're so effective right now. So I do think it's going to come down to, we honestly discuss the one-dimensional players all the time. That's why guys like, Max Strus are going to get minutes tonight, because they're going to have to go the offensive route, because you're not going to shut down Utah, but you can play to their speed and score points. I think that's the way to win this game.
A couple things I want to mention. First, play Prize Picks. If you haven't yet, sign up, prizepicks.com. Use the code 5. You get a bonus there. Play NBA, but you can also play other sports there also. Pretty much everybody in the network is now playing once we got them involved in it. So just dump $20 in and check it out. You don't have to spend a ton of money to do that. And, of course, I don't have any in front of me right now because I'm not at my place, but Biscayne Bay Brew, make sure you ask for it at the restaurants. That's the official beer of 5 Reasons Sports. I feel like there are signature wins in every season where you kind of feel like a team has got it together. The Heat have not had that win yet. The Houston win is not that. Not with Conley going out. Thank you, Twisted Tapioca. I appreciate it. I'm at a different location today. Maybe that's the reason, but I appreciate it. Oladipo going out, Tucker going out. Obviously, they were already without players to start. The Houston game is not it. This would be it. I mean, the best win this season is Christmas Day, where they dominated New Orleans in the second half. Maybe the second game against Milwaukee after they got blown out, I would think. But they really haven't had that win tonight. So I'll let both of you guys jump in here. Give me a path.
So first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make sure we get out on their shooters. They have 5 guys shooting over 40%. And then they have to, main thing is we have to make sure we rebound the ball. Because with Gobert in the middle and 5 guys on the outside, it's going to make it very easy for us to be thin on the inside, like we were talking about, especially if Bam switches out, because nobody on this Heat team outside of Bam can do anything about Rudy Gobert. So it's going to have to be focused on defense and rebounding. And on the offensive end, we can't go on droughts like we did like in the last game. After dunking it those 3 threes to start the game, we go 1 for 19 to finish the first half. So we can't have scoring lulls like that. So we're going to need to see, it's pretty obvious stuff. Defense on the 3-point line, rebounding, and making sure that we're hitting open shots.
The defense of the 3-point line, as Cooper Moorhead pointed out, has been much better of late. I mean, the attempts are still there, but they're not going in to the same degree. I know some of that is luck, just as it was luck against them earlier in the season. Some of it is the fact that Jimmy Butler is first in the league right now in opponent field goal percentage against. I really think Jimmy has erased half of their issues. I don't think he's erased all of them, but he's erased half of their issues so far. Let's look at it from the other direction. How does Utah handle Jimmy and Bam tonight? They just single up Bam with Gobert for the most part, and who handles Jimmy?
I don't know. Honestly, I would say do they put Joe Ingles on him? Because I don't know what the route they're going to go. I think they're going to do a lot of crashing on Jimmy because, as we've seen lately, if they're looking at film, Jimmy's been their entire offense. And I think when you're talking about what Miami needs to do, they need guys other than Jimmy to step up early. You can't have Jimmy coming out to be the only guy that can score the basketball early on, and I think that's where you can turn things around. But to Jonathan's point about defensively, the two things you have to do that he mentioned are flying out at the three-point line and rebounding the basketball. And that's probably the two hardest things to do together because you're flying out at the three-point line and then you're trying to crash the boards. So that's going to be the thing tonight to try to look at to see which way are they going to, focus on more. Is Spoelstra going to say, just crash out, chase them off the three-point line, or are you going to say, make sure you get down low and try to get a body to get a rebound?
Clarence, just with a comment, and I mean, this is the one. I mean, if Kelly has 5 threes, they got to change. I just don't know what Kelly Olynyk you're going to get. Like, I feel like we know what Jimmy Butler we're going to get. We know what Bam will be if he's aggressive. We kind of know what Kendrick Nunn we're getting lately. I don't know what Kelly Olynyk we're going to get. I feel like we're due for a bad one because there have been some good ones, and I'm with you. I mean, Kelly gives him a different dimension when he's making threes because the looks are there. I mean, he's going to get those looks. If he makes 4 out of 9, games are different, otherwise. And then, again, let's close here. Donovan Mitchell, has been lights out. I don't think it has anything to do with Shaq. I think this is what we saw in the bubble last year. I know Shaq's going to take credit for it. What did they do with Donovan? I mean, does Jimmy have to – is this a Jimmy Butler assignment?
Yeah, it has to be a Jimmy Butler assignment or when the bench players come in, maybe on Andre Iguodala, because that's probably the only two guys, if we don't have Avery Bradley, that can handle him at all. His explosiveness, his fast twitch muscles. So it's going to have to be Jimmy because if not, we're going to have to over-rotate and then we're going to leave open shooters going. So I think it's going to have to be Jimmy from the start. As much as we don't want to overuse Jimmy, it might have to be Jimmy to start, just try to contain him with the heavy offensive threat that team brings.
All right, transaction talk. We can't finish without some of this. Our guy Ben just asked about Bjelica. They have an interest in Bjelica. I mean, he fits in their trade exception, so that's basically what they would be looking at. I don't know if he's a poor man's Kelly Olynyk or a rich man's Kelly Olynyk. I'm not really sure, but they have had interest in him. Check out the podcast that we did last night. Some people missed it on John Collins. I'm going to promote that again. I think Greg and Alex are both out on John Collins. I'm in on John Collins. So there's some disagreement there, but make sure that you check that out. And again, prizepicks.com, use the code 5. Once we're out of here, Alejandro, we got a video. We got Tyler Herro sound from today. So we're going to play that. Post-game show, Royal is hosting.
Spo said on Thursday that he
thank you
found.
very much, Christian. Appreciate the happy birthday message. I'm not sure I'm happy about how old I am, but that's okay. The other announcement is we have brought in someone younger than Brady. We're welcoming Christian Sosa to the network. He's going to be doing some graphic design for us. So, Brady, you are now an old man. It happened to Alex Toledo as well. He was the young man, and now he's an old man of the network. So we're doing it. Somebody mentions this will be Precious's night. We haven't had a Precious game in a while. He's hit the wall a little bit. I'm curious to see if he can get it. I'm going to call something tonight. I think they win tonight. I have not picked them to win a lot this year, particularly against better opponents, but they do play up. And I just think this is a game. I think Jimmy wants to make a statement against the quality team. I think we're going to get a much better Bam game tonight. I think he's going to go right at Gobert. And I think they get a 7-point win on the road, which I think will make people pay attention, although the networks will still take them off all the games like they've been doing lately. Did any of you guys going to predict a win?
I think it's possible, but I do feel if I'm going to make any prediction, I think it's going to be a big Jordan Clarkson game. He just has Miami Heat killer written all over him. The way he's been playing, especially lately, but he really seems like the kind of guy that would just play really good against the Heat team.
Yeah, I'm
gonna be that bold?
not feeling the Heat today. With everything that's gone on this season, it's hard to say that we're going to do the exact opposite. We've been guarding the three a little bit better, like you said, but it's been against the Knicks and Washington, a weak Clippers team. You know what I mean? So it's not been against the best three-point shooting teams. So I feel like this might be a game where they just outshoot us and they score like 120 and we maybe get to 105 or 110, but we still fall a little bit short just because we can't contain them offensively.
All right. Good stuff, guys. Alejandro, you going to call one? What are you saying?
They win tonight.
All right. Look at that. That's he's declared it. All right, Alejandro's going to hang with you. He's going to handle the Tyler Herro stuff. Again, we'll be back post-game podcast tomorrow night. Check out the John Collins pod. Like I read, if you got it, you got 30 minutes. It's a good listen. We did it last night. And I don't know why it's pronounced Angelic, Ben. I have I pronounce everything incorrectly. So and go to 5reasonsports.com. Get all our T-shirts, including the throwback, the No Ceiling BAM shirt. It would be nice to be busted through the ceiling tonight because there has been one of late. Or the Jimmy Butler. We have a variety of Jimmy Butler shirts if you want those. Tyler Herro shirts. Check those out. Enjoy the game. We hope.
Out just before the game that you weren't going to be available because of protocols. How and when did you find out that you weren't going to be able to play, and kind of what had to happen in the next few hours for you to be cleared to fly with the team to Utah?
So I found out like 5 minutes before he came and spoke to the team. They said that I had false positive, or I tested positive. I had to sit in the arena and watch the game in this little room, and I completed like 2 or 3 tests, and they all came back negative. So that allowed me to, travel with the team to Utah.
Were you already going through obviously I think you probably were going through your pregame routine, and, obviously like you thought you were going to play. Did that news came out of nowhere, or did you kind of know your status might be in question leading up to that moment?
No, I had no clue. I was literally putting my uniform on, getting ready to play. I went through my whole routine and everything, and like I said, five minutes before, the trainers came and told me that I had tested positive.
And last question from me, Max on Thursday was crediting Jimmy for kind of instilling confidence in him and being on him to be aggressive. You've talked about how Jimmy helped you, especially last season with that. How unique is that, from talking to peers around the league, how unique is that for a star player to have that quality, and what little things does he do to put confidence in all of you?
Yeah, I think it's a big relief for all of us, especially as our young guys. Jimmy and Goran and the rest of our vets really, instill confidence into us, and just breathe life into us, and they tell us to be really aggressive, and just let us be ourselves. So I was happy for Max to see him perform that well on Thursday. So yeah, it was good to see.
Next we have Ira Winderman.
Tyler, are you like the most jinx guy in the world when it comes to this? Between the other day when you had a housemate test positive, had to skip that Sunday practice in Boston, when you thought you were going to go on the bus with the other guys, and then this test result. I mean, is there part of you that just sort of feels jinxed by the whole process?
Yeah, a little bit. It's crazy. I feel like, my name keeps coming up in it. Now we've had 2 false positives, under my name. So, it's all part of the world we're living in right now. I just hope I don't have to continue to deal with it.
Now, I know we're not doctors, but we know basically from what we've been told that if someone has COVID, it's less likely they get it again, that they probably have the antibodies. So how surprised are you that you sort of get caught up in something like this, when you would think maybe that you would sort of be beyond that, having dealt with it last spring?
Yeah. I have no clue how the virus works. Like you said, we're not doctors. We're living in a crazy time right now, playing in the NBA and going from city to city. We're getting tested, daily, multiple times a day. So, yeah, I feel like at any point, any team, any guy could, falsely test positive, and that's just the world we're living in.
And I know all teams have those safe rooms for that reason, including places that have spectators if necessary. What was it like in there? Did you have a TV? Were you able to watch the game? What's the experience sitting in solitude and watching a game like that when you're so close to the action you can touch it?
Yeah, it was like a little tiny room. I felt like I was in jail. The TV was tiny, and I had a shower, so I was able to shower and watch the game. So it was all right. But obviously, I wanted to be out there and play, compete with the guys. I was just happy we were able to come away with the win, and I was able to continue to travel with the team for this road trip.
Thanks, Tyler. Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Next we have Christos Saltas. Hello, Tyler. Hope you are doing well. I would like to ask you, what were your thoughts when you learned 5 minutes before the tip of the game that you are out due to safe and healthy protocols, and how you handle this situation also, and what is the biggest difference in the team on the court in the last 4 games?
I mean, I wasn't happy, obviously. I didn't think I had the virus, so I was kind of mad that I had tested falsely positive. But I think the last 4 games we've been playing for each other, breathing life into one another, and we're just playing real good basketball right now. I feel like we continue to get better. We're not the team we want to be yet. We're just continuing to get better game by game. Practice by practice, film session by film session, and just continue to get better and get ready for the playoffs. That's what we're gearing up for.
All right, Tyler, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.